When names shift. Because spirits shift. One of the most consistent and revealing patterns in Scripture is this: names change when spirits change. God is patient with shared language for a time, but he is never indifferent to the spirit operating behind that language. Words may be tolerated while truth is forming, but when the spirit behind a name shifts, either toward revelation or toward corruption, the name must follow. If it does not, it is either corrected by God or judged by him. In Scripture, names are never neutral. They are vessels of spiritual meaning, authority, and relationship. This principle is clearly seen in God's dealings with individuals. Abram becomes Abraham not merely as a ceremonial change, but because a new covenant is established. The spirit of promise is introduced, and the name must now carry that promise. Abram speaks of an exalted father. Abraham declares a father of many nations. The name changes because the spiritual reality has changed. God does not allow an old name to carry a new spirit. It would misrepresent the work he is doing. The same pattern appears in Jacob, whose name meant supplanter, one who grasps the heel, one who advances by human striving. After wrestling with God not merely in body but in spirit, he emerges transformed. God renames him Israel, a prince with God. The wrestling is spiritual, but the renaming is in the flesh, because heaven's verdict must be visible on earth. When the spirit of striving gives way to the spirit of divine rule and submission, the name must testify to that change. Even places are not exempt from this rule. Luz becomes Bethel. The ground does not change, but the revelation does. Luz was an ordinary location until God revealed himself there. Once heaven opened, the place could no longer bear its old name. Bethel, the house of God, is not a poetic upgrade, but a spiritual necessity. Where God reveals himself, language must bow to revelation. The name follows the encounter. Baal, however, moves in the opposite direction. What was once a descriptive title meaning Lord or Master, he today becomes an idol, a rival spirit competing for devotion. The syllables did not change, but the spirit behind them did. What was once tolerated becomes forbidden. What was once descriptive becomes corrupt. This is why God does not merely reject Baal worship. He rejects the name itself when it becomes spiritually compromised. Thus, the words of Hosea carry deep spiritual judgment rather than shallow linguistic concern. And it shall be at that day, saith the Lord, that thou shalt call me Ishi, and shalt call me no more Baali. Hosea chapter 2, verse 16. This is not divine jealousy over syllables or pronunciation. This is God drawing a line against a corrupted spirit. Ishi speaks of covenant intimacy, my husband, while Baali carries the residue of domination, rivalry, and false lordship. God refuses to be addressed through a name polluted by another spirit. In Scripture, names change not because God is poetic, but because God is precise. When the spirit changes, the name must testify to that truth. And when a name refuses to change while the spirit has already shifted, judgment follows. This is not about language, it is about allegiance. God guards his names because he guards his spirit.